How can you keep the blood nice and thin? There is no need to take rat poison, I mean warfarin. What causes damage to the arterial wall? The arterial wall is made up of little endothelium cells. High blood pressure. High blood pressure.
How does one maintain a thin bloodline? I mean, warfarin. There's no reason to swallow rat poison. Furthermore, taking aspirin is not necessary. According to current studies, aspirin and aspirin may result in bleeding disorders of the brain and eyes. Bleeds in the brain are linked to Alzheimer's, while bleeds in the eyes are linked to the decline in our vision. Millions of people are impacted by this illness, which is sometimes referred to as the silent killer, especially as we age. Despite the fact that high blood pressure frequently has no overt symptoms, it can cause major health problems like heart disease and stroke. It's almost true that 1 in 2 persons over 65 suffers from high blood pressure. This figure emphasizes how critical it is to comprehend and treat this illness. We will discuss the definition of high blood pressure, its causes, and doable strategies for controlling and lowering it in this presentation. So stay tuned as we unearth insightful advice and methods to assist you in controlling your blood pressure and enhancing your general well-being. Let's put blood thinners on a list.
Blood thinners. What keeps the blood thin? Now you're going to love this blood thinner because it's very, very cheap. Water. It is true. It is the best blood thinner that you can take. Well, how come people that are drinking water don't have thin blood? Well, if a person's drinking water, they must be sure that they're drinking adequate water. This is the water loss in a day. So out of your kidneys, we have 1.5 litre loss. Out of your skin, 0.5 of a litre loss. Out of your colon, a 0.3 of a litre loss, and out of your lungs, a 0.2 of a litre loss. So that equals 2.5 litre loss in a 24-hour period. Now, the half litre can be replaced with herb teas, your fruits, your vegetables, but the 2 litres must be replaced with water and water alone. The good news is you don't have to drink it all in half an hour. You've got 24 hours to drink that 2 litres of water. That's pretty reasonable, isn't it?
Blood thinners. This one is thicker. What maintains the blood's thinness? Now that you know how inexpensive this blood thinner is, you're going to adore it. Aqua. It's accurate. It is the most effective blood thinner available. So why don't those who are sipping water have thin blood? Therefore, while someone is consuming water, they need to be sure they're getting enough of it. This represents the daily water loss. Consequently, we have lost 1.5 liters from your kidneys, a loss of half a liter through your skin. You will lose 0.3 of a liter from your colon, and a 0.2 liter loss from your lungs. That means that in a 24-hour period, 2.5 liters will be lost. The 2 liters must be replaced with water and water alone, but the half liter can now be substituted with herbal teas, your fruits, or your veggies. The good news is that it's not necessary to consume it all in 30 minutes. You have a full day to consume those 2 liters of water.
Now obviously 8 of those hours we're sound asleep, so we're not drinking. But you've still got a lot of time to drink water. My suggestion is go to bed with a glass of water next to your bed, and as soon as you wake up, half a glass. And then you might go to the bathroom, and then you might come back, have another half a glass. And then you might do what I do and pray, and I've got a lot of children and a lot of grandchildren and a lot of people to pray for. And then I'll have another half glass. And then I might read my Bible, something inspiration for that, have another half a glass. And then I'll put my joggers on and I might have another half glass. And then I'll go for my high intensity run. And when I get back, I really want another half glass. You know, it's easy for me because I usually wake about 5:30. That's my favorite wake time. And then I can fit sometimes 3, sometimes 4 glasses of water before I eat at around 7:30. Wow, so that's a lot of my water done, yeah? Now, the best time to drink water is between meals, because if you drink with meals, you can water down your gastric juices, as you'll find out tomorrow night when we go on a journey through your gastrointestinal tract. And you'll see when we get to the stomach, it's acid. And you put water in acid, what happens to the acid? It neutralizes it. So try and stop drinking water half an hour before the meal and resume about an hour and a half, 2 hours after the meal. If you are fully hydrated when you sit to eat, you will not need to drink with your meals. Most people drink with their meals because they sit to eat dehydrated. And it's such an American habit and an Aussie habit. Is it a New Zealand habit? One lady that came to our retreat, she said, every time I sit to eat, I keep reaching for that glass of water. And on Saturday morning, I'll show you how you can rewire your brain.
That works up to about 2 liters of water per day. That is very important. All you need to do is figure out how to get it in. And if you take it gradually, your body will be able to use it more effectively. However, there's still another option to make better use of your water. And that's when you use the entire salt. However, shouldn't we cease using salt? Is salt really dangerous for hypertension? I'll tell you the story of the salt. Sea salt has the highest sodium concentration, as well as ocean water. And there are 92 minerals in seawater. The reason it is called an isotonic solution is that the mineral balance and proportion are precisely the same as those present in the blood of the human body. In actuality, the Navy would transfuse seawater during the conflict. Setting reminders for yourself over the day can be helpful if you want to make drinking water a regular habit. As you become accustomed to it, progressively increase your intake of water. For example, start with simple, realistic objectives like drinking a glass per hour. Pay attention to your body's cues as well. We can confuse thirst for hunger at times, which can result in mindless munching. Try sipping a glass of water first and giving it a few minutes to see if it helps if you're feeling peckish in between meals. Another factor that may influence things is the water's temperature. When the water is at a temperature they prefer, some people discover that they drink more. That being cold, room temperature, or just tad bit warm. To determine what suits you best, experiment with various temps. Recall that drinking water alone won't keep you hydrated. Cucumbers, oranges, and watermelon are examples of foods high in water content that can also help you stay hydrated, particularly in the summer when sweating more easily causes dehydration. Therefore, the table salt that you see on the store shelf is truly harmful. We must consume salt in its natural form, along with all the other minerals from the environment. Himalayan and Celtic salts both have 82 minerals. Thus, Celtic sea salt.
So Celtic salt, and you can usually buy it at the health food shop. 82 minerals. Where are the other 10? They're in such pico proportion that's barely measurable that it's inevitable that some are lost in the evaporation process. But hey, 82 is pretty close to 92, isn't it? And that Celtic salt has 3 magnesiums. It has magnesium bromide. It contains magnesium sulfate and magnesium chloride. Magnesium is a water-hungry molecule, and that's why that salt is usually quite moist. Now let's go to the CBD and have a look at what happens here. This is the cell. Now the cell has a bilayered membrane around it. And the way to get water into the cell is by taking magnesium. So when you take a crystal of Celtic salt on your tongue, already your mucous membranes are absorbing the minerals into the blood. The blood takes that magnesium to the cell. You drink your water and that magnesium pulls the water inside the cell. It's a water-hungry molecule. That's the quickest way to hydrate the human body, is to put that crystal of Celtic salt on your tongue, do a little chomp, and then drink it down. Many people are sick because they're dehydrated, and yet some of them are drinking a lot of water. And the water's going straight through. The water is not getting inside the cell. That's why the best way to have your water, and beside my bed I have a little bit of that Celtic salt. I wake up, I have the Celtic salt, I have half a glass of water. As I said, I get out of bed, I have another glass of water. Best way for your body to utilize that water is to have little by little, by little, by little, by little. And at the beginning of every one of your 8 glasses, have that Celtic salt.
Potassium is present in the cell in the highest concentration. Additionally, the bilayered membrane around the cell contains sodium-potassium pumps. And that's essentially how the pumps work all the time, regulating the amounts of potassium and sodium entering and leaving the cell. Now consider the following. What does table salt include if someone is consuming a lot of it? 2 rock types. Just those 2 minerals are present in table salt. Additionally, those 2 minerals are so severe that if you were to inject them directly into someone who consumes a lot of table salt, they would die. What is a typical saline solution then? It is significantly diluted and contains a few more minerals. However, the individual would not survive if the sodium chloride entered their veins directly. Additionally, the taste buds are destroyed by the 2 harsh minerals found in table salt when it is sprinkled over food. Have you found out? They don't even taste the meal to determine whether it needs it or not before shaking it all over it. It makes sense. Their taste buds are perishing. The taste buds are stimulated when you add Celtic salt to food. It is a flavorful salt. Assume for the moment that table salt is being applied to everything. It naturally has no minerals at all. The amount of sodium is increasing. Every one of your fresh fruits and veggies contains potassium. Furthermore, if the individual is overly busy and doesn't have time to consume fresh fruit and vegetables or chew an apple, they may end up consuming fast food, which lowers their potassium levels. Sodium is now present in the cell in trace amounts. What is going on inside the cell at this point? Potassium levels are falling while sodium levels are rising. Since the potassium levels are too low, osmosis and diffusion occur when the highest concentration combines with the lowest.
And then the cell swells. What's that called? High blood pressure. The doctor is right. Table salt can greatly contribute to high blood pressure. And so what's the person told to do now? Stop the salt. Now, sodium levels are going too low. And when the sodium levels inside the cell go too low, the cell swells. What's that? High blood pressure again. You see, both extremes are unsafe. The table salt is dangerous because of the imbalance of minerals. No salt is dangerous because did you know that sodium is the 3rd most vital element needed for life? You'll find that in every anatomy and physiology book, every biology book, every chemistry book. The 3rd most vital element needed for life. What's the first? Oxygen. What's the second? Water. What's the third? Sodium. What's the 4th? Potassium. So a salt-free diet is a very unscientific diet. It's a dangerous diet because you think about it. We cry, seawater. We sweat, seawater. We urinate, seawater. I haven't tasted that, but I don't think anyone has. But baby swims in utero in seawater. We need salt. Every time we urinate, cry, perspire, we're losing it. And we need to replace it. And we need to replace it the way it is found in nature with all of the other minerals.
Realize that not all salts are created equal. Since table salt is heavily processed, the majority of its intrinsic minerals have been eliminated. Himalayan and Celtic salts, on the other hand, retain their health-promoting minerals. These salts include trace elements that are necessary for human health, such as calcium, iron, and zinc. Zinc boosts immunity and promotes wound healing. For our blood to deliver oxygen, iron is essential. In addition to strengthening bones, calcium facilitates nerve and muscle function. Therefore, using natural salts such as Himalayan or Celtic salts gives you benefits beyond sodium. Additionally, you're receiving these vital nutrients. However, consuming excessive amounts of table salt, which is devoid of essential minerals, can upset your body's equilibrium. Your cell's ability to operate may be impacted by this imbalance, which may result in complications like kidney strain, cardiac troubles, and fluid retention. A vitamin D deficiency may also be the cause of elevated blood pressure. In what way? Nevertheless, calcium is a crucial mineral that cannot enter a cell on its own. Calcium is the form of vitamin D. Additionally, calcium is drawn into the cell when vitamin D is present. Additionally, all the other minerals ride along with calcium as it enters the cell. For this reason, calcium is referred to as the king. Since calcium is known as the king, and when it enters the body, all other minerals follow suit, there has been a misconception to the extent that people believe taking supplements of calcium is necessary to achieve strong bones. No. Since calcium isn't a component of bones, it doesn't harden them like it does cement. Minerals make up bones. 12 minerals and 64 trace minerals make up bones. So where are those minerals found? In its ideal state, in the Celtic salt. Anywhere else? Lush, dark green vegetables. Consider the size of the elephant, orangutan, and cow's bones. They all have enormous bones and are vegetarian animals. From where do they obtain the minerals necessary for their bones? Lush, dark green vegetables. Leafy green, dark veggies should be a daily part of our diet.
And you do not lose your minerals when you cook your vegetables. You will only lose your minerals if you cook your vegetables in water and throw the water away. There's all your minerals. Use waterless cooking. Put the tiniest little bit of water in, put it on a low heat with the lid on and let it slowly cook. And then use it all. But with spinach, silver beet, you don't even need to put water in there, do you? So much water comes out of it. When you cook vegetables in their own juice, you get a lovely flavour. So vitamin D deficiency can cause high blood pressure because if there's a deficiency in vitamin C, the calcium and the minerals can't get in. And what the body does, it builds up pressure to try and force it in. Cause of high blood pressure can be wheat and sugar. How so? We explained last night. You see, wheat and sugar both break down to glucose, and as we looked at last night in the diabetes lecture, high amounts quickly. And glucose cannot get into the cell by itself, it must have insulin. But if the pancreas is worn out because the person's eating so much sugar and so much wheat, then the insulin is depleted and the glucose can't get into the cell. Can you see what's happening here? The person's mineral deficient, vitamin D deficient, insulin deficient, and this is the CBD. This is where all these nutrients are required. And the cell says, we've got a problem here. How can we get it in? We're lacking insulin, we're lacking magnesium, we're lacking vitamin D. The body says, oh no, we'll just force it in. What's that? Blood pressure.
Magnesium is deficient in us. We don't have enough vitamin D. Oh no, the body responds. We'll just shove it in. What is that? Blood pressure. The body reacts by raising blood pressure when it comes into contact with something it cannot tolerate, such hybridized wheat or an excessive amount of sugar. The body tries to handle and digest these foreign compounds through this reaction. Chronically high blood pressure also puts strain on the cardiovascular system, which can result in additional problems like heart disease and stroke. To keep blood pressure readings within normal ranges, it is imperative to regulate sugar and wheat intake, as well as dietary choices. These problems can be lessened by making sure your diet is well balanced and full of important minerals like magnesium, vitamin D, and enough insulin. Wholesome diet modifications and regular monitoring can have a major impact on cardiovascular health. Sedentary lifestyles can raise blood pressure. The majority of specialists nowadays will concur that exercise has a significant impact on cardiac strengthening. Exercise is actually the only activity that can strengthen the heart. This is an unnegotiable topic. All you need to do is figure out how to fit it into your schedule. And high-intensity interval training is the most effective form of exercise for the heart. Work out with high-intensity intervals. As the name suggests, they are high-intensity recovery periods for a cycle, which can have as many as 6 cycles. Hence, a high intensity can last for 20 to 30 seconds. Have you given it a shot? Did you sense your impending death? A 2 to 3 minute recovery period, followed by anything from 3 to 6 cycles. A good maintenance dose is 3. If you want to change things around, number 6 is excellent since you can do so really rapidly. The majority of studies have been conducted with exercise bikes. I generally run up a hill for 30 seconds, but it's much simpler to go 30 seconds on an exercise bike. You can swim or you can't swim.
On the strengthening of the heart. In fact, it's the only thing that will strengthen the heart is exercise. It's a not negotiable subject. You just got to find out how you can fit it into your day. And the most powerful exercise for the heart is the high-intensity interval training. High-intensity interval training. As the name implies, they're intervals of high intensity, intervals of recovery for a cycle, often of anywhere between 3 and 6. So the high intensity can be 20 to 30 seconds. Have you tried it? Did you feel like you were dying? A recovery time of 2 to 3 minutes and done for a cycle of anywhere between 3 and 6. 3 is a good maintenance dose. 6 is a great one if you want to turn things around, and you can turn things around quite quickly. Most of the research has been done on exercise bikes. It's a lot easier to go 30 seconds on an exercise bike than run up a hill for 30 seconds, which is probably what I usually do. You can do it swimming. Can't swim? Exercise bike, don't have a bike, can't do the bike. Everyone can do the rebounder. And the rebounder, you start with just little jigging and then you start to jump, jump, jump. The rebounder exercise is the only exercise that strengthens every single cell in the body. And your heart muscle is made up of cells. As you do this high intensity, your heart gets stronger and stronger. Your breath becomes, your lungs start to take in your air a lot deeper. Every muscle in the body is getting more exercise. And as I showed you before, when this cell has oxygen, it's going to give you 18 times more energy. That means every cell, 18 times more energy. Every cell in the body has more energy, and every cell in your heart has more energy. You can totally turn high blood pressure around even just by exercise. So inactivity is one of the causes. Inactivity causes the blood to pool in the internal organs. When you start moving, it causes the blood to be taken out to the extremities.
Can't ride the bike? Don't have an exercise bike. Anyone may perform a rebounder. On the rebounder, you begin by jigging a little before beginning to jump repeatedly. The only workout that fortifies each and every cell in the body is the rebounder exercise. Additionally, cells make up your heart muscle. Your heart becomes stronger and stronger as you perform this high-intensity exercise. Your breathing becomes, your lungs begin to inhale much more deeply. Each and every muscle in the body is being worked harder. Additionally, as I previously demonstrated, this oxygen-rich cell will provide you with 18 times more energy. That is an 18-fold increase in energy per cell. The body's cells are all more energetic. Additionally, your heart cells are all more energetic. Even with simple exercise, high blood pressure can be completely controlled. Therefore, one of the causes is inactivity. Blood pools in the internal organs during inactivity. The blood is drawn to the extremities as soon as you move. Excessive thirst is another factor contributing to hypertension. Little capillary networks may close during dehydration in order to keep the big arteries' blood volume filled.
How do we turn high blood pressure around? start taking the Celtic salt. If you're used to no salt, start slowly. Because one of the body's amazing abilities in keeping us alive is the ability to adapt and adjust. And it'll adapt and adjust to no salt. And so you can get it out of that and adapt and adjust to having the salt and having the salt in its balanced form. Vitamin D deficiency. Whenever you see that sun, run out. But if you have a shower and wash with soap just before you have the sun, you won't get sun. You see, the ultraviolet rays from the sun convert a form of cholesterol just under the skin to vitamin D. What's converted to vitamin D? Cholesterol. Isn't cholesterol the cause of high blood pressure? Isn't cholesterol the cause of heart disease? It is not.
Therefore, what can we do to lower high blood pressure? Take the Celtic salt first. Start gently if you're not used to eating without salt. Since the body's remarkable capacity for adaptation helps keep us alive, it will adjust to a diet devoid of salt. You may therefore extract that from it and learn to live with the salt and the salt in its balanced form. A lack of vitamin D run outside the moment you see that sun. However, you won't get sun if you take a shower and wash with soap right before you go outside. You see, the sun's UV rays change a type of cholesterol that is found just beneath the skin into vitamin D. What gets transformed into vitamin D? Cholesterol. Isn't high blood pressure caused by cholesterol? Isn't heart disease caused by cholesterol? It's not. When it comes to health, people frequently misunderstand cholesterol. Although having high levels of some forms of cholesterol can lead to cardiovascular issues, high blood pressure and heart disease are not exclusively caused by these conditions.
Calcium cannot get into the body by itself. It needs vitamin D. So vitamin D is also important for strong, healthy bones. So where do we get vitamin D? It's the sunshine vitamin. Ultraviolet rays from the sun hit the skin and they convert a form of cholesterol just under the skin to vitamin D. Vitamin D is essential for the assimilation of calcium in the body. Now, why am I mentioning calcium by itself? Calcium is called the king, and because it's called the king, it's been misunderstood. It's called the king because when calcium gets into the body under the action of vitamin D, it pulls all the other minerals on the back with it. It does not strengthen the bones to take calcium supplements. You are now putting a mineral in that can cause an imbalance in the body. And it's usually calcium in a way that is not able to be absorbed properly by the body, so it can contribute to the build-up of kidney stones, gallstones. So it's better to take calcium the way God meant us to take calcium, is in balance with all the other minerals which you will find in your vegetables, especially your dark green leafy vegetables. You see, vegetables are high in fibre, high in minerals and low in sugars, whereas fruit does have some minerals but not as much. Fruit is high in fibre, high in sugars and low in minerals. And that's why God meant us to eat a variety. I like to have my fruit at breakfast. I have fruit with usually a grain, maybe a legume, some nuts and seeds, and I have vegetables at lunchtime. Fruit and vegetables in the stomach can cause a little bit of a war because fruit is so high in sugars and the minerals are low in sugars. So ideally, as a rule, we try and keep the fruit at one meal and the vegetables at another.
The body needs cholesterol for a number of processes, including the synthesis of hormones and the integrity of cell membranes. The true cause of the problem is typically an imbalance between the different forms of cholesterol or other variables, including heredity, lifestyle, and nutrition. For example, eating a lot of salt, stress, and not exercising can all affect blood pressure. Maintaining regular physical activity, controlling stress, cutting back on processed meals, increasing fruits and vegetables, and taking a balanced approach are all important components of improving overall health. You may help your body maintain normal blood pressure and cardiovascular health by taking care of these elements.